everyone. We are so glad you are joining us. We cannot believe it's December and mid-December at that. We are finishing up the year 2024 with SEL and AI. Our whole series this season is going to be themes around AI. So every month when you find us, we'll be talking about how AI works with other hot topics in education. I'm with my friends Jonathan and Sandy today, and I think we can just jump right in. I'm going to go ahead and talk about great resources for families and students K-12. I think that, it is really great for both populations to know what is out there when it comes to tools to help us with social emotional learning. And the first thing that came to mind were some of the great tools that are in Magic School AI. Our district here in Plainfield uses Magic School AI. That's our platform. So our students and teachers use it. And we have the paid version, but this comes with the free version as well. So your students can get on if teachers are sharing the link to a room, is what they call it with these generators. Teachers and students can get on and explore. And some of these really great generators are the chatbot, just being able to talk to someone other than a peer or a teacher about something, maybe problem solve a situation, and it's completely safe. So this is fine for students of all ages to be using. There's lots of guardrails. So if a student gets off track and maybe asks something that it's not supposed to, Magic School will rein the student back in and help them focus on what they really need to be using AI for. So there's a student support chatbot, which is actually brand new. There's one that helps with study habits. I mean, let's face it, even as an adult, I struggle with some executive functioning skills and which tasks do I do next? And it's so overwhelming. I was just talking to Sandy and Jonathan about how I tend to do things at the last minute, and it's not always the best. So I am always trying to balance to-do list and, where things fit in order of priority. So the study habits tool is amazing. And there's an amazing one for social stories. And I love this. I thought about something. I tried to take myself back to middle school and I thought, oh my gosh, the worst was when you walked into the cafeteria and your seat was taken or your friends weren't sitting where they usually were sitting. And the panic of, I don't know how to prepare for this situation. And so I simply typed in that scenario. I'm in middle school. What happens if I get to the cafeteria and my friends aren't there, or they are there, but there's not a seat for me? What are my options? What does that look like? And it really gave some really great suggestions. And at the end, it basically wrapped it up with saying change is okay. And it's okay to meet with new friends and to introduce yourself to other people and to go kind of out of the ordinary of your normal routine. So I just really love these tools. I think they're just as beneficial for students as they are parents. Maybe you are encouraging your child and you can say, hey, have you used Magic School? Have you tried to get on and talk through this and kind of get another perspective? Because sometimes as a parent, I know what this is like. I tell my child something and they don't take my advice, but someone else tells them something that's the same advice and they're on board with it. So just some great tools to check out with Magic School. And then I got on ChatGPT because I thought, okay, what's ChatGPT going to tell me about this? And I think it's a great reminder that this can be our collaborator. I have the app on my phone. I am always asking it questions. So I literally posed the question, how can AI support social emotional learning? It came up with like 7 great examples. I stole 3 of them here, but it gave me a great reasoning behind it can help in various ways, enhance educators' ability, counselors, students to develop in these SEL skills. So when in doubt, use it as a collaborator to hey, I'm going through this, or my child is going through this, or I'm a student and I'm kind of facing this. How are some ways I can work through it? Because I think sometimes we don't even realize the heavy lifting that AI can do for us. I loved the personal feedback and coaching, because the feedback portion of AI is amazing as well. No longer do you have to wait for an adult to look at your paper to give you some great feedback to keep moving. Or maybe you're stuck on an idea and that's really impacting your learning. Being able to have this collaborator work through the weeds of what you want to do with your project, I think is pretty amazing as well. The accessibility piece, We can't forget about that. And just the overall supporting emotional well-being. I mean, it will recommend meditation apps for you and free resources you can use if you are feeling overwhelmed and you do need something else to help you kind of get grounded back into what you're working on. So those were just a couple of my suggestions that I'm even using myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Karisa. And you've led me really well to talking more about using AI as a collaborator, because as I was preparing for our conversation today, I was really thinking about, SEL is a really big topic. So I just kind of wrote notes and did a brain dump of all of the things that are involved within SEL, because we say SEL all the time, but we don't necessarily think about all of the pieces and parts that it takes to really help students be successful and have those opportunities to grow and learn in being in different social situations. So here's a list of 9 of the over 20 that I came up with as I was just writing. So oftentimes students have difficulties or are striving towards creating positive relationships. And so there's lots of opportunity and ways for us to support them in doing that well. Reflective journaling is something that I love doing with students, and it really does bring out some things that students might want to work on as they work with different peers or with their families or with teachers. Mindfulness strategies. We know that students need time to really just reset and going with that, those regulation strategies, helping them get back to a place where they're ready to learn and be their best self. Also, we know that sometimes students are feeling like a problem is much bigger than it really is. And so we really need to help them think about the size of their problem so that they can really start to generalize if this is the right reaction that I should have for this particular situation I'm in. We know there's lots of conflict that can happen throughout the day with their brother or sister, with their parents, with their teacher, or with a classmate. And so helping them find ways to navigate those different conflicts in positive and productive ways. I know many teachers start the day with community circle discussions, and sometimes it can be difficult to come up with the right question that supports the need of that classroom. A lot of times we all have them, we all have those triggers, but sometimes it's hard to identify those triggers and know how to react within different triggers that might be surfacing with us. And then developing overall self-awareness is another piece that's just really important as students are working with other students and how they might be perceived by others. So what I was hoping to do is just share a couple of prompts that relate to each of those areas. Because as we've been sharing all along throughout this series, like AI is only as good as the prompts that we give it. So I remember, when OpenAI first came out, I was like, this isn't really helpful. But as I was using it more and more, I was like, oh, like I have to be really good at writing prompts that are going to give me what I need. And so in time, like it's become a daily use practice. And so as I was thinking about creating positive relationships, I thought about this particular prompt. I have a student that finds difficulty connecting with other peers. Create a list of questions that would help him make connections with others. So that list of questions could be something that I share with students. With that student, have a social story with them, ones that they really like, ones they might want to try out with their classmates. And that would provide them opportunity to really get to know others with having some of those practiced and rehearsed questions. In the reflective journaling piece, think about the difficulties that your class is having. So my class is having a difficulty listening to one another during turn and talk and extending on their partner's thoughts. Create some journal prompts to support this. So again, we want to make sure we're sharing in our prompt exactly what the issue is so that we get things back that are really going to be supportive and responsive to our classroom. Mindfulness strategies. Design some mindfulness strategies to cope with testing anxiety. I know iRead and iLearn is going to be heavy in a couple months. This might be a great way for you to be proactive in your classroom to help students before they start those testing opportunities. In addition, regulation strategies. I know this is a big one for elementary teachers and possibly middle school and high school teachers as they move through classroom or through different class periods. When they come back from PE or a really activity-filled event like recess, it's really hard for students to get back into the swing of what a classroom feels like. So this particular prompt has to do with a student that has a hard time returning to ready to learn when they come back from PE. So making a list of options for co-regulation between the teacher and student that they can work together on when that student returns to class. Size of the problem, this is back to that students overreacting situation. Make a list of different scenarios that students can rank the size of the problem so they can start to see in the grand scale of things what is a big problem and what's not. That conflict resolution piece, I know lunch in those unstructured times can cause a lot of conflict to arise. I remember picking my students up for lunch and I'm like, oh, we were so good before lunch happened. And now it's like, I don't know what's going on anymore. So I put in a prompt that asking it to make a list of strategies for students to have in the middle of their table when they experience conflict so that they can use some of those pieces within that chart that's in the middle of their table. And then back to the community circle discussions, again, thinking about what the problem is in your classroom and asking it to create questions around that particular situation that's happening within the classroom. Identifying triggers, a student becomes dysregulated when working in partners or groups. Create a survey to help her and I determine her triggers when working with others. When I did this, it was really awesome. There were really great questions that I really felt would help us get to the root cause of where those triggers are surfacing from. And then lastly, that self-awareness piece, creating some reflective questions that support students in developing that self-awareness. And that could be discussion-based or reflective journal-based. So those are just, again, we're only as good as the prompts we write. Those are just a few examples within each of those areas. I'm sure you've got many other different situations that would help you in making some changes to these prompts, but I got really good results in writing these.
And so I'm going to talk about SEL and AI for our preschool and early childhood kiddos, both for parents and for teachers. So I found this really great. It's actually a meta video that's talking about using meta AI to create a drawing to bring a kiddo's artwork to life. And I think we've all seen these, and there's tons of them out there. So this is just one that's free. But what I wanted to do is really talk about how we could use this to support SEL. So, I am thinking pre-K kids. So kiddos that are probably not going to be able to draw a bee like this. I can't even draw a bee that looks like that because I'm not an artist. But, having the teacher do a class drawing where the kids really work together and they collaborate together to create this character. And then from there, I want this character to feel sad because for a lot of those kiddos, because I didn't want to share my toy today. So then they can go through and pick out which animation is going to make their character feel sad together. Or having your bee, we're going outside today. And I know one of the things that my little one just experienced as a friend, it was cold and he didn't want to go outside. So seeing if there's one that could help this kiddo see that, this bee might be cold, but look what we could do outside. We could play hopscotch and that might keep us warm. We could do the running man and that might keep us warm. So thinking about that and doing it as a class drawing, telling parents and teachers how they feel and draw the character and model that feeling. So as you create this character has a smile on its face. Maybe I'm working with my 3-year-old and she is making her surprised face. Why are you feeling surprised? What's making you feel surprised? Or maybe the character has a crying face. She says, Mommy, Daddy, draw me a picture of a bee with a sad face. And then we can talk about why that bee has a sad face and find that animation that goes with that, because they don't necessarily understand what that means. So giving them a visual to go with it is really going to help. And then you can also talk about, does this bee look sad right now? how do you read this bee? What do you want to tell me about this bee? This bee's not sad. Why is this bee maybe happy? So really thinking about getting in touch with their feelings. Of course, having the kiddos create their own drawings. I will say one thing about this platform is it has to be a character that has 2 arms and 2 legs. So for many of our early childhood kiddos, they may not be at that point where it has 2 arms or 2 legs. So that's something to really think about, which is why I suggested maybe a class drawing or a collaborative drawing. But yeah, having them create their own, because how much will they love that? Maybe a kiddo is feeling some sort of emotion and we need to just find that way. We know a lot of times with preschool kids, we want to honor how they're feeling, but if we can, I don't want to say trick's not the right word, but if we can replace that feeling with something else, they're better just like that. So if we take a moment, hear why they're feeling that way, and then say, hey, let's go try our drawing. Let's go draw a picture of a butterfly or a circle with 2 arms and 2 legs, because that's where we're at. And then let's do something fun with it. That's really going to help maybe bring that kiddo out. And then pick a style that models your feelings. So maybe we have one character that we draw and we tell all the kids, or I work with an individual kid and I say, you get to pick right now how you're feeling, because we don't always want to talk about SEL when we're feeling down, right? We want to honor kids when they're feeling up too. So which of these really shows how you're feeling right now? Is it the last one waving? I'm feeling that running man because I want to go dance and it's been a great day. So this is just one tool. But like I said, there's lots of them out there. So find one that you like the best and have those kids draw. The next thing I wanted to share, this is an article. It's a pretty lengthy article, and it talks a lot about inclusion and how we can use AI to support our students with delayed development. But what I really loved, and I'm going to make this one a little bit quick, they share several tools to support kiddos with delayed development, talking about readers and how we can use headphones, thinking about virtual therapists that can support kids, lots of different things. But in the very end, they mention using enhanced robots for social skills and really thinking about how those robots can mirror a kiddo's feelings, and then starting to read that feelings as educators, as parents, read the feelings that the robot is picking up on so that we can offer that real-time feedback and that guidance on how to improve the kiddo's regulation. So what I like is it's that partnership with AI. It's thinking about using an AI robot, which is super cool, and those are out there, and then taking that robot and helping it inform me on what best to do. So that, that kind of goes a little bit with what Jonathan was saying too about being specific. It's not just going to be me throwing something out there to guess what a kiddo is saying. It's kind of like me getting that prompt from a robot that's picked up on a kiddo. So I love that idea. And then the last slide is just, this is a blog that I wrote for Keep Indiana Learning. So first of all, make sure that you go and check out Keep Indiana Learning, because you're going to find so many resources out there for SEL, for AI, but this one is Rethinking Social Stories with AI. So this came to me last year, actually. I was trying to get my little one, who is a 3-year-old right now, to sleep in her own bed. And she wasn't sleeping in any bed. She was sleeping in a rocking chair. And so I was trying to come up with a way to show her, this is what you do when you sleep in a bed. And so I kind of started thinking about social stories. And we know that we use social stories in the classroom to help kids understand social emotional pieces, to visualize them. But when I was thinking back about it, when I first started creating social stories, I was taking pictures. You take the picture, you put it in, and you show the kiddo. Well, now I can type in exactly what I want the kiddo to look like, things they love, and be really specific, like what Karisa was saying with Magic School AI, and just be super specific on what I want. And then it creates this animated character, or it could be a real life character that looks real close to what your kiddo, this is what my little one looks very close with the one with the Paw Patrol, and she loves Paw Patrol. So that's why, I could bring that in. But it was really helpful because I didn't have to take the time to write it. we don't have time to write and take pictures for all the kiddos that need social stories or that would benefit from them. It's not even that they need them. Think about the kids in your classroom. Think about a preschool, early childhood classroom, your own kids. All kids benefit from a social story. I, right now, could benefit from a social story. So really thinking about how we can use these. There's so many platforms. These are just two. Karisa mentioned Magic School for social stories. And so check out this article. It tells you even more about each of these two platforms plus Magic School AI, and just really think about how you could be using these in your classroom, preschool, early childhood, of course, thinking about even our kiddos in an EC classroom who are learning how to potty train, create that social story, who are learning how to walk down the hallway, create that social story. And it doesn't even have to be for one kid. Why not make a bunch for your classroom with either the same character? Maybe as a class, we come up with the name of this character, Mia, and we create Mia together. And then Mia learns how to walk down the hallway, use the restroom, eat, snack, all of the different things. And just really think about how you could save yourself time and how it's going to help all kids. So make sure you check out that article on Keep Indiana Learning and look for all the other great stuff that's on there. And lastly, we just want to thank you all for joining us today. There is a QR code there to scan that is a survey. And if you fill it out, you are going to be entered in for some swag from Magic AI. Thank you, Karisa. Just we always want to take your feedback and see what's going to be helpful and what you want to learn more about. Make sure that you are ready to join us after winter break for a Science of Reading and AI. Also, just one last thing about AI and this time of year. It's a great tool to use for making sure we're being inclusive in our classroom with all the different holidays coming up. I always like to give everybody that reminder of remember that this time of year is happy for some and it is really tricky for others. And make sure we're recognizing that in our kids. And that's a great time to use AI, really thinking about Chat GPT. I love what Chris has said about making it your thought partner. Hey, Chat GPT, I have this kiddo in my class who is going through XYZ. How do I support this friend in my classroom? What are some social emotional strategies for supporting this kiddo in my classroom? So just really be mindful of that. We all would love for this time of year to be celebratory, but it's tricky for some. And so just use AI to help you with that. Lastly, make sure you're following Keep Indiana Learning on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you all. Scan Jonathan's QR code, my QR code, Chris's QR code. Follow us, share with us what you're doing to try and integrate or partner AI with SEL and just really making it your thought partner. That idea is amazing. So thank you all, and we will see you in January.